Okay, so let's get right into it. Picture this. You're driving in Dubai, and 1 second everything's normal. The next, your car's navigation says you're hundreds of kilometers away, completely lost in the desert. Now, this isn't some scene from a movie. This is a real technological mystery that's happening right now, and it's pulling back the curtain on a hidden battlefield that is all around us. It all started when Tesla owners, Uber drivers, even food delivery guys across the region started reporting the same bizarre thing. Their cars, while parked safely in the city, were showing up on GPS deep in the Arabian desert. A weird and frankly pretty creepy digital glitch. And it wasn't just happening to cars. It got even stranger. On maritime tracking systems, you had these gigantic 300-meter cargo ships, ships that were anchored in the Arabian Gulf, suddenly appearing on land, miles inland, or tracing these impossible, perfect circles off the coast of Iran. Then, the chaos jumped to the skies. Flight trackers started showing commercial airliners doing things that just defy physics. We're talking about planes zigzagging like crazy or instantly teleporting from the airspace over one country to another in the blink of an eye. So, what in the world is going on here? I mean, your first thought has to be that it's just a massive software bug, right? Some system-wide glitch that's making every navigation app go haywire. But the truth is way more deliberate and a whole lot more alarming. Yeah, this is no glitch. These totally bizarre events are actually the symptoms of an invisible war. These are deliberate acts of electronic warfare, and they're tied directly to the rising geopolitical tensions between countries like Iran and Israel, playing out in the very radio signals that we all depend on every single day. And the weapon at the center of all this chaos? It's called GPS spoofing. To put it simply, it's a way to make your devices lie to you. Instead of just blocking the GPS signal, spoofing feeds it a completely false reality, a believable but totally fake set of coordinates. You know, what's really fascinating is how we got here. Back in the 1991 Gulf War, the US military had this incredible advantage because they were the only ones with full access to GPS. But now, that very same technology has become the target. It's a weapon that's been turned against its users, leading to the crazy disruptions that we're seeing all over the place. This all raises a pretty basic question, though. How is it even possible to hijack a signal that's being beamed down from satellites orbiting 20,000 kilometers above our heads? It sounds like something out of science fiction, but the answer is actually hidden in how GPS works in the first place. So, the magic trick behind GPS is a principle called trilateration. The key thing to understand is that your phone isn't sending anything up to space. It's just a passive listener. It's quietly calculating its own position by measuring how long it takes for signals from at least 3 different satellites to reach it. Okay, let's break that down. A signal from one satellite basically tells your phone, hey, you're somewhere on the surface of this giant imaginary sphere. A second satellite signal creates another sphere. Now, where those 2 spheres overlap, you've narrowed your position down to a circle. And then, this is the brilliant part, a third satellite signal slices through that circle at just 1 point. And that single point? That's you. Right now, our entire world is blanketed by the signals from these 31 active GPS satellites. It's this incredibly robust global system that pretty much everything, military, business, our daily lives, has become totally dependent on. But it has one critical weakness. And here it is. This is the Achilles heel of the whole system. By the time those signals travel all the way from orbit, 20,000 kilometers, they are unbelievably faint. We're talking weaker than the light from a distant star. And anything that's that weak can be overpowered. So this vulnerability opens the door for 2 main kinds of attack, jamming and spoofing. They both mess with GPS, but they do it in completely different ways, and they have very, very different results. Jamming is basically the brute force method. It's like trying to drown out a whisper by just shouting a bunch of static. You blast out radio noise on the GPS frequency, and boom, you create a blackout. No device can get a signal. Spoofing, on the other hand, is way more surgical. It doesn't shout, it lies. It whispers a fake GPS signal that's just a little bit stronger than the real one, tricking your device into latching onto it and calculating a perfectly believable but completely false location. And the precision of this deception is just mind-boggling. Because GPS is all about timing, a spoofer only needs to introduce a teeny tiny error, a fake signal where the timestamp is off by just 1,000th of a second, 1 millisecond, is enough to make your GPS receiver think it's hundreds of kilometers away from where it actually is. So, while your map app going haywire is definitely annoying, the real dangers of GPS spoofing are on another level. This is where it gets genuinely terrifying, because this technology is a direct threat to the critical systems that keep our world running. I mean, just think about aviation. The stakes there are literally life and death. A pilot might have zero idea their navigation system is feeding them a lie. The warning systems that are supposed to prevent them from flying into a mountain could just fail. A plane could be tricked into flying straight into hostile airspace, or even worse, it could make a sudden, catastrophic mistake during landing. But there's this other, almost hidden danger. The entire global financial market, all of it, depends on the super accurate atomic clocks that are inside GPS satellites to timestamp transactions. You've got trading bots making deals in microseconds. If a spoofer messes with that time signal, even by a tiny fraction of a second, it could corrupt millions of transactions and potentially trigger a catastrophic market crash. Now, if you're thinking this all sounds a bit theoretical, it is absolutely not. The world got its first huge wake-up call on this over a decade ago, with an incident that sounds like it was ripped straight from a spy thriller, the Great Drone Heist of 2011. So, in 2011, Iran made this shocking claim. They said they had captured one of America's most secret, most advanced spy drones, the RQ-170 Sentinel, and they had it completely intact. And the craziest part? They did it without firing a single missile. The way they did it was just brilliant. They didn't shoot it down, they spoofed it. They broadcast a fake GPS signal that was stronger than the real one, and they slowly, carefully tricked the drone's navigation system. They made the drone think it was landing safely at its home base in Afghanistan, when in reality, it was touching down perfectly on an airstrip deep inside Iran. It was an absolute masterclass in electronic warfare. The capture of that drone and all the chaos we're seeing in the Middle East today, it all proves one thing. The very nature of war is changing. The battlefields of the future, they're becoming more and more invisible. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? We are moving into an age where winning a war might not be about who has the biggest bombs, but about who can control the flow of information, who can manipulate data, and who has mastered the invisible world of radio waves. So it leaves us with this really big and kind of unsettling question to think about. As our lives get more and more tangled up with these invisible signals for everything, navigation, communication, even our money, we have to start asking, who is it that really controls the reality we see? And what happens when we can no longer trust what our own screens are telling us?